All right, hi everybody. Welcome to the Houston Zoo. My name is Kendall. I'm one of the hoofstock keepers here, and we're going to be doing our Facebook Live today about our Okapi. I'm going to be the voice. I'm going to be the one talking. We also have our other keeper, Jessica, here. She's going to be down actually with the animals. She might be the cameraman for a little bit of this so that you guys can get some good and up close time with our Okapi here. Okapi are a really cool and unique species. They are the giraffe's only living relative, and you can see that in their body shape a little bit. When you look at an Okapi, you can see that their shoulders are higher, like height-wise, than their hindquarters. So their front legs are actually a little bit longer than their back legs, and they have that long neck and long sloping back that giraffes also have. So these guys are also found in Africa, but these are found in the deepest, darkest rainforests of Africa. They are not kind of plains animals the way that giraffe are. So they're pretty distinct. Okapi are also their own species. A lot of people come and they stop and they look at the Okapi and they go, well, what did you hybridize to make that? What did you combine to make this animal? This animal is its own species. They exist in the wild. They have adapted to live in really, really dense rainforest areas, and that's why they're so dark in color, and that's actually why they have stripes on their hind legs. Those stripes, while they look really bold to us as humans, when they're actually in their natural habitat, is very, very shady, and the shade comes down through the rainforest canopy, and once it hits the ground, it's actually coming down in kind of lines of light. And so when the Okapis have their stripes, it helps them blend in with the way that the shadows look on the ground, and it means that they can move around without being detected by predators. They also have big old ears. I don't know if you guys can see, we're looking at Sukari, our female right now, and you can see she's got big ears that are constantly moving, constantly swiveling around. And those ears are gonna allow them to hear a very, very, very long distance away. So she's gonna be able to hear stuff maybe up to even 2 miles away they can hear, which is way further than humans can hear. And so they're always on the lookout for anything that they might not like, anything they might not want to be near. They're gonna hear it from a long way away and they're gonna leave the area. Right now it is a little bit rainy here, folks, so every now and then our Okapi may decide that they want to walk away and stand under the cover. Despite being from the rainforest, we have found that they do not really enjoy being out in the rain all that much, and oftentimes will just walk somewhere where they can be under a tree or under cover. We've got a question from Kaylee asking if they are as velvety as they look. I am happy to confirm the answer is yes, absolutely. They, I think, are one of the few animals that we have that actually are as soft when you're able to touch them as you think they would be. They have incredibly dense fur and very, very soft, velvety fur on them that actually is a little bit waterproof. So as it rains, if it's just a light rain, if it's a little trickle, it will just kind of beat up and roll down their back. Very similar to the way that water would roll off a duck's back. We also have a question, what animals are inside with our Okapis? So we do have 3 different species that live here in this yard with our Okapi. We have a pair of Stanley cranes that are the birds, and their names are Nat and Ella. Nat is 32, I think. He is one of the oldest blue cranes in the zoos in North America right now, and then Ella is his girlfriend. She's a little bit younger than him. And then in the back, they're kind of hiding at the moment, but we've got 2 yellowback dikers that live with our Okapi. Yellowback dikers are also found in the same part of the world that Okapi are. They are nocturnal though, and very good at hiding, so it's a little bit difficult sometimes to get a good glimpse at our yellowback dikers. There are actually over 20 different species of dikers in the world. Yellowbacks are the largest. They usually live in pairs or as solitary individuals in the rainforest. They are, looks like we've got one coming out from the bamboo to check on what's going on. That's Daryl, that's our male, and then laying down in the back is Pumpkin. This is, like I said, these guys are nocturnal, so this is kind of the middle of the night for our dikers. They're just getting up to see if they want a midnight snack, and then they're gonna go back to sleep pretty soon here. Rena's asking, how many Okapis do we have? We actually have 3 Okapi. The 2 that you see out here are our adults. We've got Sukari, our female, and then a little bit further behind her is Kwame, her boyfriend. And then we have a almost 3-year-old Okapi in our back area right now. Her name is Kavuli, and she was actually born here at the Houston Zoo. She is the offspring of the 2 Okapi that you're looking at out here today. She was born, like I said, about 3 years ago. I think she was born in 2020, right in the middle of summer. And so she is fully independent at this point. Okapi babies are only going to stay with their mom for about a year and a half in the wild, and then they go their own way. So at that point, we were able to separate Kavuli. She is part of the Okapi SSP. SSP stands for Species Survival Plan. So someone is out there coordinating breeding efforts from Okapi and all the different zoos, and they have a genetic match that's going to be a good match for Kavuli to breed with at a different zoo, and we are working on eventually sending her there where she can be a breeding female. So we do have a successful breeding program here. We're really happy about it. Kwame and Sukari are breeding adults. These are in endangered species, and so we're really happy to be able to be helping, conserve that population and increase that population by having a successful breeding program here. We've actually had 2 baby okapis born here in the last 10 years, which is how long I've worked here and can actually reference. And, we hope to have more in the future. What are the okapi eating? So they're getting a little bit of everything right now. They get romaine lettuce and they get kale. They get some of that every single day. And then they're also getting some wax myrtle browse. Okapi in the wild eat the leaves off of the trees. They spend most of their time eating leaves off of trees. So we actually grow 20 different species of trees and bushes here on zoo grounds that we can feed to our okapi. So every day we'll go and we'll do some tree trimming or cut back some bushes and then offer that browse to them so that they can eat the leaves right off the branches like they would if they were walking through the rainforest in the wild. They kind of graze and munch and walk along and then kind of eat as they go and eat in small portions throughout the day. So the species that they're eating today is called wax myrtle. It's something that grows pretty well down here even in the winter. So when other species of trees maybe don't have a whole lot of leaves on them right now because it is February, wax myrtle's doing pretty good. So they get a lot of wax myrtle for browse in the winters. How many okapi are there in the wild? That's a good question, and we don't actually know. We are guessing somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000, but that is purely an estimation based on how much habitat there is and how many we think might be in there. It actually might be significantly less. They are found only in one rainforest in Africa. It's called the Ituri Forest. It's mostly in the Congo. It's the only place in the world these guys are found. It's actually why we had trouble knowing that they existed for a long time. Okapi are famous because they were the last large mammal discovered in Africa ever. These creatures were not officially documented by scientists until the early 1900s, which is a lot longer than you think about. How long have we known that elephants existed? How long have we been able to prove that giraffe or, just big African animals exist? Well, these guys, it was almost only 100 years ago that we realized that these were actually real and not just kind of mythological folklore animals. And it's because they're so good at hiding. Like I said, they live just 1 or 2 together at a time. They're not living in big herds. They live in a really deep, dense, dark rainforest that's hard for us to get through, and they can hear us coming 2 miles away. So they are very good at avoiding humans in the wild if they want. So we do not actually know how many there are. A lot of the conservation work that's happening with okapi now is habitat protection. So like I said, there's really only that one place in the world that they're found, so we need to make sure that they can continue to live in that one place that's suitable for them. Unfortunately, deforestation is kind of their biggest threat, and people are basically using the habitat that the okapi need, and instead they're cutting down all the trees, and they are mining in that area. And they're mining for minerals and kind of precious metals that we use as humans in our electronics. So the best thing that we can do to help protect okapi in the wild is recycle your electronics. We have here at the Houston Zoo, we do have an electronics recycling program. We do kind of drives specifically for it at least once a year. And it really encourage people to recycle any electronics they have. That's phones, that's tablets, laptops, things like that, because the minerals that the okapi habitat is being mined for can be reused and can be recycled. They don't have to be taken fresh from the environment. We can take them out of old phones and put them into new phones, and it works just fine. So if we can recycle as many of the electronic devices as we have, if we can continue to recycle those, then we're not going to need to take any more out of the environment, and that's going to protect these guys' habitat. Looks like Waylon asked, what does their diet consist of? They have a varied diet. I think a lot of the roughage and a lot of the stuff that they eat throughout the day is alfalfa hay. It's a very green leafy hay. It's the same hay that we feed to giraffes, the same hay that we feed to a lot of our browsing species like okapi. They get a lot of alfalfa hay. They get a little bit of grain. The grain diet that they have is almost like the kibble you feed your dog, except it's just specially formulated for these guys. It's got all the minerals and nutrients that they need. They get about 5 pounds of that food spread out throughout the day. Kwame gets a little bit more because he's kind of an older fellow, and we want to make sure he keeps a good amount of weight on him. And then they also will get browse, like what they're eating right now. So any of the branches and trees that we take out of off grounds and chop down to feed to them, they get to eat that that's kind of a, some days they get a lot, some days they get a little type thing. And then they get a little bit of the produce, which is a little bit what they're eating now. They'll get, trying to think, collard greens, romaine lettuce, kale, a little bit of apple, a little bit of sweet potato, a little bit of carrot, and it can kind of rotate on special occasions. They like things like bananas, pumpkin and watermelon for seasonal activities and things like that. So really just lots of plant material, lots of veggies, teeny bit of fruit. Fruit's actually pretty high in sugar for these guys, so we tend to stick to veggies. Charlie asks if their tongue is as long as a giraffe's tongue. It's a really good question. It's not quite as long as a giraffe's tongue. Giraffes have a little bit longer tongue, but it is a very, very long tongue for their species. So I mean, they can stick their tongue probably a good 8 inches out of their mouth if they were really trying. And it is a really dark color like a giraffe's tongue. So we talk about how they are the giraffe's closest living relative. They do share that with giraffes. They have prehensile tongues that are long, kind of a dark black or purple color most of the time. And they can grasp things with it and pull that food into their mouth. So that that's how they eat in the wild. They'll kind of be able to reach up, grab food with their tongue and pull it into their mouth. They can actually lick every part of their body. Giraffe can't do that, but Okapi can, which is interesting. So they are kind of bendy creatures. If they really want, they can turn their head way around and lick their backsides if they want, because they have such long tongues and they can turn, and such long necks, they can kind of turn all the way around and look directly back behind them. So this is Kwame that you guys are looking at, and he is just the bestest Okapi in the whole wide world. Kwame is incredibly calm, incredibly sweet, loves attention, loves interacting with people. We do have food up for him right now. Even if we did not, he would probably still just be standing up here looking at us saying, "Hi guys, how are you today?" Because he really just enjoys looking at people and interacting with people.
Do you want to try and get a little closer maybe?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hand the camera off to our keeper Jessica now, and she's gonna get you guys a really up close look at Kwame. Of course, he might start to walk away as soon as we say that, but that's okay. So he's got big old long tongue that he's using now. They like to lick the droplets of water off of these metal poles that we have in their yard sometimes. They love it when it rains and they'll lick the water off. They love to lick everything. This is how they explore the world around them. Okapi are just always kind of licking something, putting it in their mouth, kind of like how little kids, they're gonna pick something up and put it in their mouth if they wanna know what it is or wanna explore it. Okapi are gonna lick it. He's got 2 kind of horn-like protrusions on his head that you guys can probably see. That's how you tell males apart from females in Okapi. So only the male Okapi have them. And that's something that actually grows over time. They're not born with them, but when they're born, they just kind of have 2 teeny tiny little bumps. And then as the males get older, it will start to grow. It's kind of like cartilage, kind of like bone. There's kind of calcium deposits that happen that make it really, really hard and firm. So the males will use those when they spar with each other in the wild. How tall is he? How tall is Kwame? That's a good question. I used to know. I want to say his shoulder height is about shoulder height for an average human. And that's usually where we measure them from. So I mean, he's probably about 5-ish feet tall at the shoulder. And that's standard. So Okapi males are usually a little bit smaller than Okapi females. The girls are a little bit bigger, a little bit more robust, and a little bit heavier, because they are the ones that have to carry and nurse any calves that may be born. So the females are usually a little bit thicker, and the males are a little longer and leaner. And Kwame and Sukari are no exception. You can see his big old ears, big old eyes. Rachel asks, what is your favorite personality trait about the Okapi at the Houston Zoo? Oh, that's hard to narrow it down, but I mean, Kwame is probably just everyone's favorite individual. We love them all, but Kwame is just a special goofball. He is a little bit of a space cadet, and I kind of love that about him. He is very easily distracted from the things you want him to pay attention to, and then he will not refocus. He is going to, stare at a leaf on the ground for a solid 3 minutes when you're asking him to come inside at night. Because it's time for dinner, and he will just kind of ignore you for a solid several minutes to stare at whatever it is that's just caught his attention. And I enjoy that. It is funny, it is frustrating sometimes, but we love him for it because he is just a little bit of a silly goofball. Something else I like about him, despite supposedly being an animal that is very well suited to the rain and living in a rainforest, Kwame absolutely hates the rain. The minute that it starts to rain like it just did, he says no thank you. He goes back underneath his cover and he will stay there until it stops raining. Well, all right, guys, just want to say thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you guys had fun learning about our Okapi. Hopefully you guys can join us again next Wednesday at 11 a.m. for one of our other animals here at the Houston Zoo.